All around the world, there is one shape that never dies. It rises from the sands, from the jungle, from the mist, and no matter where you find it, it speaks the same silent language, the pyramid. From Egypt to Mexico, from China to Indonesia, from the highlands of Peru to the deserts of Sudan, pyramids stand as if they were born from a single mind. Different peoples, different gods, different ages, yet the same sacred geometry. How could civilizations separated by oceans, with no contact, no shared language, and no modern tools, build the same monument? Some call it coincidence, others call it evidence of a lost connection that once spanned the world. Maybe the story of humanity isn't a straight line of progress, but a circle, a memory repeating itself in stone. Tonight, we journey to the dawn of civilization to trace the global code of the pyramid and uncover what it tells us about who we once were and what we may have forgotten. Welcome to Unveil Archive, where ancient silence finds a voice and the mysteries of our world are finally unveiled. If you believe history still hides more than it reveals, subscribe now and join us as we uncover the truth behind the pyramids of the world. It always begins in Egypt, in the heart of the desert, where the Nile bends like a serpent of eternity. The great pyramids of Giza rise from the sand like frozen lightning. Even now, 4,000 years later, they look as if they were built yesterday. No mortar, no steel, just stone. Each block weighing tons, aligned with such precision that modern lasers barely find a margin of error. For centuries, we've called them tombs. But what if they were more? Ancient texts say the pyramid was not a grave, but a resurrection machine, a gateway to the stars. The ancient Egyptians believed the pharaoh was not merely a man, but a god in flesh, destined to ascend to the heavens after death. The pyramid, then, was the vessel, a cosmic engine designed to launch his soul into eternity. The Great Pyramid is aligned perfectly to true north, with an accuracy modern engineers still struggle to match. Its base forms a nearly perfect square. Its height encodes the ratio of the Earth's radius to its circumference. It mirrors the stars of Orion's belt, the celestial symbol of Osiris, god of the afterlife. And the air shafts that pierce its inner chambers? They align not with the landscape, but with the stars. One points to Orion, another to Sirius, as if the builders wanted to connect heaven and earth through geometry and light. Some researchers believe the Great Pyramid resonates like a giant tuning fork, built to harness the natural frequencies of the earth itself. Inside, certain chambers amplify sound, vibration, and electromagnetic fields. Were these structures built only for the dead, or were they alive with energy? The ancient Egyptians called their land Kemet, the Black Land, where the gods walked among men. Their priests recorded that knowledge was not discovered, but remembered. That everything they knew, from astronomy to engineering, came from a forgotten time when the gods themselves built the first temples. Could Egypt's pyramids be echoes of an older civilization, one that left behind a blueprint for the world to follow? The story doesn't end in Giza, because across the Red Sea, in the sands of Nubia, smaller pyramids rise, built by the Kushite kings long after Egypt's glory faded. Their design is sharper, steeper, yet unmistakably the same. The shape endured, the idea survived, as if every kingdom that rose afterward remembered a piece of the original code, the geometry of eternity. What if this was not Egypt's invention at all, but its inheritance? What if the first pyramid was not a beginning, but a memory of something far older? Across the vast Atlantic, half a world away from Egypt, another civilization was carving mountains into memory. In the jungles of Central America, the Maya, the Aztecs, and the Olmecs built their own pyramids, not as tombs, but as living temples of time. At Teotihuacán, near modern-day Mexico City, two colossal pyramids rise in silence, the Pyramid of the Sun and the Pyramid of the Moon. No one knows who built them. Even the Aztecs, who came centuries later, called the city the place where men become gods. The layout of Teotihuacán mirrors the stars above. Its main avenue runs precisely from north to south, while the Pyramid of the Sun aligns with the setting sun on the summer solstice. Together, they form a celestial map, a mirror of the heavens carved into stone. And if you measure the base of the Pyramid of the Sun, you find that its dimensions echo those of the Great Pyramid of Giza, across an ocean, across millennia. The ratio between their bases, their heights, even their alignment to cardinal directions, are nearly identical. Coincidence? Or remnants of the same forgotten science? Further south, deep in the Yucatan rainforest, the Maya built Xi'an, home to the Temple of Kukulkan, a pyramid that becomes alive every spring and autumn equinox. As the sun descends, shadows ripple down the stairway, creating the illusion of a serpent sliding toward the earth. The god Kukulkan, returning from the sky. A spectacle of light and shadow, timed perfectly to the movement of the stars. The entire structure is a cosmic calendar. Each side has 91 steps, 364 in total, plus the summit platform, forming 365, the number of days in a solar year. But the Maya weren't alone. Far to the south, in Peru's coastal desert, lies the ancient city of Caral. Older than Egypt, older than Sumer, perhaps the oldest known civilization in the Americas. There too, the builders raised pyramids, massive terraces of stone and clay aligned to the sun and the wind. They had no weapons, no armies, only music, trade, and mathematics. Yet they built monuments that would still stand 5,000 years later. From Mexico to Peru, from the valley of Oaxaca to the Andes, the same sacred geometry repeats. Step pyramids, solar alignments, star correlations. Everywhere the builders measured heaven through the earth. Everywhere the pyramid was the bridge between man and the divine. And just like Egypt, these civilizations spoke of gods who descended from the sky. Beings who brought knowledge, agriculture, and astronomy. The Maya called them the Itzamna. The Aztecs spoke of Quetzalcoatl. The Inca honored Viracocha. Different names, different continents, yet the same story. Teachers from above. Messengers of the light. Were they myths or memories of something our ancestors once witnessed? Modern archaeology insists there was no contact between Egypt and the Americas. But if that's true, then how did they build the same monuments, follow the same stars, and worship the same idea? That life began from the heavens? Maybe these weren't isolated civilizations after all. Maybe they were fragments of a single global memory, scattered across the world, waiting for us to reconnect the pieces. From the deserts of Egypt to the jungles of Mexico, the stones speak the same language. And if we listen closely, we might realize that the builders of the pyramids they were not just building for themselves, they were leaving a message for us. Across the Pacific, where the mists of time hang thick over mountains and valleys, the pyramid reappears once more, silent, enduring, defiant. In the heart of China's Shanxi province, buried beneath layers of earth and secrecy, stand dozens of massive mounds, ancient pyramid-shaped tombs that stretch across the plains of Xi'an. To the untrained eye, they look like hills, but beneath the grass lies the stone geometry of forgotten emperors, the most mysterious of them all, the mausoleum of the first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. It is said to contain rivers of liquid mercury and a model of the heavens carved into the ceiling, mirroring the stars. Ancient writings describe a chamber built not merely to hold a body, but to preserve a cosmos. And even today, the Chinese government forbids excavation of the main tomb, fearing it would destroy something that cannot be replaced. 4,000 years after Egypt, another civilization built its own stairway to eternity. And again, it pointed to the sky. Travel southeast, across the waters, to the island of Java in Indonesia. There lies Gunung Padang, a mountain that may not be a mountain at all. For centuries, locals believed it was a sacred hill, but beneath its surface, layers of stone terraces descend like steps, a man-made pyramid older than recorded history. Ground-penetrating scans reveal chambers hundreds of feet below, aligned with the stars above. If dating estimates are correct, Gunung Padang could be over 20,000 years old, twice as old as any known pyramid on Earth. Who built it, and what kind of world existed before ours? In Cambodia, the temples of Angkor Wat form another mystery. From above, their towers and courtyards align with the constellation Draco, mirroring the night sky in stone. Each structure, each axis, calculated with astronomical precision. Like Egypt and Mexico, Angkor was more than a city. It was a star map, a message from Earth to the heavens, written in the only language that never dies, geometry. And even farther north, in Japan, off the coast of Yonaguni Island, divers discovered something even stranger, a massive underwater complex of steps, platforms, and terraces. Some say it's a natural formation, others insist it's man-made, the ruins of an ancient civilization swallowed by the sea. If true, it would mean humans were building monumental architecture before the end of the last ice age. From China's imperial tombs to Indonesia's buried pyramid, from Cambodia's cosmic temples to Japan's drowned city, Asia's ancient landscape tells a story of forgotten knowledge. A story that seems to whisper the same truth as Egypt, as Mexico, as Peru, that long before modern history began, humanity once understood something we no longer do. Different lands, different times, yet the same pattern repeats, the pyramid rising as a bridge between worlds. Is it possible that these civilizations were fragments of a single, global network? One that shared a sacred code of mathematics, astronomy, and spirit? Or are they remnants of an even older epoch? A lost chapter erased from history, remembered only through stone? Maybe the truth isn't written in books or scrolls. Maybe it's written in the earth itself. And maybe, one day, when the last of these monuments are uncovered, we'll realize they were never separate at all. But one message, scattered across continents, waiting for us to remember. When we compare these monuments, when we strip away language, culture, and time, something extraordinary appears. The numbers, the angles, the proportions, they repeat. Across the world, pyramids share the same mathematical fingerprints, as if their builders were following a universal code. In Egypt, the Great Pyramid's angle is 51 degrees, 50 minutes, a slope that perfectly embodies the golden ratio, the number that defines balance and beauty in nature. In Mexico, the Pyramid of the Sun follows the same geometry. In China, the tomb mounds of Xi'an tilt at almost identical degrees. In Indonesia, the terraces of Gunung Padang rise with the same harmonic proportion. Different continents, same ratio. Different languages, same equation. Even their positions are not random. Draw a line from Giza to Teotihuacán, extended across the globe, and it passes through ancient sites like Easter Island, Angkor Wat, and Mohenjo-Daro. This path, known to researchers as the Earth Energy Grid, aligns sacred monuments along a single great circle, as if all were tuned to the planet's invisible rhythm. Could it be coincidence? Or did ancient architects know something about the Earth that modern science has only begun to rediscover? Some believe these structures act like nodes of resonance, amplifying the planet's natural energy fields. The stones themselves are not just inert rock. Many are crystalline, piezoelectric. When exposed to sound or vibration, they generate charge. It's as though the ancients built their monuments not only for worship, but to harmonize with the Earth itself, to create a bridge between matter and energy, between human and cosmos. Even the placement of these pyramids reflects a knowledge of the stars. Giza aligns with Orion's belt. Teotihuacán aligns with the Pleiades. Angkor Wat mirrors Draco. Across the hemispheres, the same constellations reappear. Orion, Sirius, the Pleiades, the same celestial markers guiding the same architectural code. Why? Because the ancients believed that to build in harmony with the heavens was to restore balance on Earth. To them, architecture was not only art, it was alchemy. Every block, every measure, every line was a prayer frozen in stone. When the pharaohs built Giza, when the Maya raised their temples, when the emperors of China shaped their tombs, they were not just building monuments. They were building memory, an eternal archive encoded in geometry. And that geometry transcends culture, language, and even time. It is the universal constant, the same pattern that shapes a seashell, a galaxy, a human heart. The more we study these ancient monuments, the more we realize they were not primitive at all. They were scientists, engineers, mystics. They understood vibration, resonance, astronomy, not as separate disciplines, but as one living truth. Perhaps that's the real connection, not a trade route or a lost continent, but a shared awakening, a knowledge of how energy flows through all things, from the stars to the stones, from the earth to us. Maybe our ancestors weren't trying to reach the gods. Maybe they were reminding us that we already are part of them. And if every pyramid is a note in a forgotten symphony, then together, across the planet, they form the music of creation itself. Every time we uncover a mystery this vast, history offers explanations that feel too small. Coincidence, parallel invention, cultural evolution. But the deeper we dig, the less convincing those words become. Because what if all these monuments, from Egypt to Mexico, from China to Indonesia, were not separate stories, but fragments of one civilization, lost to time? Plato once wrote of a great empire that existed 9,000 years before his time, a kingdom of immense knowledge and power that vanished in a single day and night of misfortune. He called it Atlantis, a myth, they say. But every myth begins somewhere. Ancient maps like the Peary race chart depict coastlines that should have been impossible to draw before satellites. Accurate shapes of Antarctica beneath the ice. Who charted them, and how? Could there have been a seafaring civilization long before recorded history, one that mapped the world, built the first monuments, and passed their knowledge to the peoples who came after? Perhaps they were survivors, the last architects of a forgotten age. They carried with them the memory of the stars, the mathematics of heaven, and the sacred blueprint of the pyramid, a symbol that would one day reappear across the world. But others whisper of something even older, that the builders were not entirely human. Ancient texts from every continent tell the same story. Beings of light descending from the sky, teaching mankind the arts of agriculture, astronomy, and architecture. In Egypt, they were the Neteru, the divine ones who walked among men. In Sumer, the Anunnaki, gods who came from the heavens. In Mesoamerica, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent who promised to return. Different names, same story. The bringers of knowledge who vanished when their work was done. Were they gods, aliens, or perhaps something in between? Beings who understood the laws of the universe far beyond our own comprehension. The walls of ancient temples depict figures holding objects that look strangely familiar. Globes, rods, devices that resemble energy conductors or measurement tools. Were these symbols merely metaphors, or memories of real technology lost to time? Mainstream archaeology dismisses these ideas as fantasy, but the stones themselves do not lie. They hum with precision, with purpose, with patterns too deliberate to be chance. Some researchers suggest that the Great Pyramid, the temples of Teotihuacán, and the pyramids of China were not just tombs or temples, but energy machines, resonant structures designed to amplify sound, magnetism, and vibration. If that's true, then ancient civilizations may have mastered an energy source we no longer understand, one that connected the earth, the stars, and the human spirit in a single field of harmony. And what if that knowledge was taken from us? Not by accident, but by design, because every cycle of civilization seems to rise, peak, and collapse, each time losing a little more of what came before. Maybe the greatest secret of the pyramids is not how they were built, but why we keep forgetting how. If a global civilization once existed, one that spoke the language of geometry and stars, then the pyramids we see today are not beginnings. They're reminders. Markers left by those who wanted us to remember who we used to be. And perhaps that's why they were built everywhere. Because the builders knew that one day, when the world was ready again, we would look across the oceans, connect the dots, and finally remember the truth they left behind. The further we look into the past, the more it begins to look like the future. Civilizations rise, fall, and rise again, each one reaching for the same truth, each one leaving behind the same message carved in stone. The pyramid is not just a monument, it's a mrikawinodabur. Ava, avi maung si. Gayai, bufinduia, dedikiverkur. Of, vivi no way no. Door, we once knew of how deeply we once understood the balance between heaven and earth. Stone remembers what paper forgets. When language fades and empires crumble, stone still speaks, softly, patiently, through the geometry of eternity. Perhaps that's why the ancients chose this shape, because it would endure, because it would whisper their truth long after their voices were gone. From Egypt to Mexico, from China to Indonesia, from the sands to the sea, the message is the same. We were once connected. We once built not for kings or gods, but for the soul of humanity itself. Maybe the pyramids were not built to worship something above us, but to remind us of what lies within us. The alignment, the precision, the harmony, they are not just mathematical. They are spiritual. They echo the structure of creation itself. And so, the question remains, if pyramids are found all over the world, what does that say about us? About where we came from? About where we're going next? Maybe the answer isn't buried under the sand or hidden in the jungle. Maybe it's waiting inside the human spirit. The same force that built mountains of stone just to touch the stars. When we look at these pyramids, we are not looking at the past. We are looking in a mirror, and the reflection staring back at us is older, wiser, and infinitely more powerful than we can imagine. Because no matter how much time has passed, the memory of what we were still lives in the stones. The question is, will we remember before it's forgotten again? This is Unveil Archive, where the silence of the ancient world still speaks, and every mystery brings us closer to the truth. If you believe history hides more than it reveals, subscribe now and join us as we continue to unveil the forgotten world carved in stone.